Hey guys, DFWs Cars here. I am here today with the Lexus RC F, F being their racing division. Kind of did their magic on this car. If you thought this was your grandpa's Lexus, you couldn't be any more far from the truth, and I'll tell you why at the end of this review. This car doesn't have a whole lot of competitors because it is a naturally aspirated V8. And boy, we have a crazy review for you. This is quite a car. Hang on tight, it's gonna be an exciting ride.
You're like poetry, the crazy whirlwinds blows us from the corners of my mind. Been long since last touched for the first time. Thought I was crazy until I reached out and saw your hand there waiting for mine. Like the stars had all aligned. And I breathe your aura, cannot leave your aura. You have me like gravity. You don't have to try it, it's just like a magnet. You have me like gravity. You have me like.
So just talking about the front a little bit, it's a very aggressive front. It definitely is unmistakable what it is. Love that they have LED headlights on here now. Love that they have that hood scoop. It's just a menacing looking car and it matches the performance well. Coming around to the side here, love these rims. The tires are great on this car, as are those giant slotted brakes. It has a very unique side profile, and if you don't like the front, I think the side's a little less controversial. I think this looks and engine are some of the best parts of this car. This one has the carbon roof and a carbon spoiler in part of the package. It looks cool and it's nice if you actually do track. Otherwise, I probably would skip it. It's kind of a pricey option, but I do love this carbon spoiler. They all get the spoiler, it's just not carbon. You could probably wrap it, honestly, though, if you just wanted to look. I love the, L kind of looking LEDs back here.
All right, let's do it. Check out the engine making that exhaust, then we'll go through the interior and do a little bit of a drive review. It's extremely lightweight hood. It's not carbon, but it is light. Love this V8. I mean, I kind of wish there wasn't this engine bay cover over it. Love the blue they did in there. Like, this is a nice looking engine. Again, you can tell they weren't too worried about like weight distribution in this gen though. In the batteries up here, it would have been probably fairly simple to move that to the back. A few little quirks like this on that, few little quirks like that on this car that we'll talk about more in the drive review that probably do affect handling a little bit. They did move this engine very far back though, which does help it kind of be like almost a mid-engine design. The interior on this car is sometimes critiqued, and I'll point out the couple of things that really are the only thing that make it bad, because this is with this red interior here and this red stitching, that's all Alcantara in the black there. And then the wheel is very nice, and of course there's carbon fiber accents in there, very nice. Nice gauges. The only analog gauge is this one on the right here. I'll show you a little bit more about that. So this is kind of reminiscent of the LFA. This looks like something from a James Bond movie. Believe it or not, that is eco mode. This is normal mode. Sport. You see it getting a little more aggressive there. And then there's even a Sport Plus mode, which just changes everything about the gauges. It's even over here and on this side. And what's kind of cool is you can actually have like where your torque distribution is going, but with one of my other favorite features of this car, it's the torque vectoring differential. So not only do you have the drive modes, but as you see TVD down here, so you can put in slalom, or you can put it on track mode and it'll let you, it'll torque vector you appropriately for those situations. And then of course you do have a little bit of an old school analog here with this around it. I actually like this better than like Drive Select and the ones that are all digital. Here, Alcantara up here, so nice clock, nice display. So this part actually looks really nice because this plastic in person, because the sun shines down on it. And it, you have the cross-stitched leather here, you have a chrome button, you have this little trackpad, which I would prefer a touchscreen or a knob, but heated and cooled seats, of course, Mark Levinson. But yeah, this little piece here, for some reason, and it's nice because you can both slide on it or you can tap. But what's not so nice is the plastic here, for some reason, doesn't look as nice as you'd expect in a Lexus. That chunk of plastic over there, again, you have the carbon fiber down here, you have Alcantara up here. It's just like when they redesign this car, I'm sure they'll fix that. But again, back to this door, beautiful chrome surrounded woofer there, carbon fiber, reds cross stitching, more red inserts, and like this nice chrome. So not to mention these seats, which we'll talk about in a little bit. They're extremely comfortable and supportive. Before we get on the road, I am in back here, just under 6 feet. It's okay. You'd want to bring your kids or smaller friends. It's actually more livable than some other cars. It's actually kind of comfy if my head wasn't like kind of hitting, and so I have to kind of slouch, and it's not bad because what the seats do is they inlay in there, so there actually is a bit of leg room, which is pretty clever. Really cool. Like your kids would love it, or your smaller friends, because it looks like a little spaceship back here. Like even the back is actually very nice. You get these nice leather seats. You get a console, like a leather console, and then even you get F badging right there and some little vents. So it's small, but it's really a nice place to be if you're just, not a big person. Nice thud. These doors are very easy to close and feel very like German and solid. Press that start stop button here. Watch this. Let's start her up. You hear that V8. Nice. All right, guys. So let's take her out. I'm gonna put it in Sport, not Sport Plus, because Sport Plus leans back the stability control enough that unless you're on a road where it's like 2 lanes to yourself, or obviously a track where you're not neck and neck with other people, I would suggest leaving it in Sport. At least that's been my experience, because it will let you get pretty squirrely and slidey and sidey, in that Sport Plus. And the first suspension firms up incredibly too. It's like Sport, you get the best of both worlds. It goes off the line here. Does not seem to have a launch control. All right, let's do that launch control. So it's in Sport Plus. Foot is firmly on the brake. It revs up to about 1500, and then I let go. Wow. Wow. All right, round this corner one here. Very nice, very tidy. You can tell it's a bigger, heavier car, but man, if it does with that carbon roof, and I don't even think you need the carbon roof really, just with the way they've done the suspension and everything on this car, it drives well. You can tell it's big if you drive it right next to like something else that's smaller and doesn't have a V8 up front. But I like the V8 up front, as we'll discuss in a little bit when I give you my final conclusions on this car. Yep, aggressive turning. The only slight area of improvement would be it's an electric steering. It's one of the better ones. It's almost up there with Cadillac and Porsche in being like one of the best electric steerings I've driven. I like it. As Sport Plus especially, I'm a fan. Every notch higher you go, it tightens up. Awesome. Nice around these curves here. Yeah. Very nice. Good brakes. Excellent brakes, really. Just the sound of this car, though. It is not a dual clutch, as we'll discuss in a little bit, but it's making me wonder if you need a dual clutch. All right, after that, I want to give you kind of my conclusions on every single part of the car. This car is, I'll get to the elephant in the room on the will I buy this car with my own money, because there are a few little quirks that I'm sure Lexus is going to work on in the next gen of this car. But let's just say what I thought of it for this week. Extremely amazed by the V8. It's just a great engine. It's It reminds me almost of the V10 in the LFA. If this car had a sweet Yamaha exhaust, this would sound just ridiculous. That said, I would suggest a exhaust on this car though. You also heard me mention the steering is, like I said, as electric systems go, if you have the Continuum with the Alpha 4C with its manual steering, or Ferrari steerings, or old BMW like mechanical steerings as kind of the benchmark, and now Porsche and Cadillac have managed to get extremely close to that with an electrical system. I believe Nissan may have in the GTR too. I'm not 100% sure if that one's electric from when I drove it. But this one's good. It's probably one of the areas of improvement for this car. Could just, in Sport Plus, it could just be a little bit tighter, a little bit faster, and a little bit more communicative. But as good as, you know, the BMW system now, unless you get the BMW with the better steering, it's also as good as the C63. This car doesn't have a whole lot of competitors because it is a naturally aspirated V8. That puts in the class of like a Mustang, but that's not a luxury grand touring car. Audi, with the S5 years ago, did away with the V8. The closest thing I think the closest car I feel like people would cross shop to this would be maybe the C63 Coupe from Mercedes. That is a twin turbo V8, although the turbos on that, the way they've done the exhaust, don't suck too much of the sound. Now, this guy does not have a dual clutch transmission. It's an 8-speed automatic, which I thought I wouldn't be a fan of. Honestly, I love dual clutches. The Giulia, though, another car I drove that's kind of sporty like this, also has a automatic. The automatics are getting so fast and the paddles respond so quickly, you almost don't need a dual clutch. Like, certain cars definitely can benefit from it. Like even the base A4, which I used to own, has a dual clutch, which is so cool. It pops off those shifts so fast. But if you're gonna go with one of the newer higher end automatics, you're gonna get the same speed as a dual clutch. So I actually liked this transmission. I thought that would be one of my areas of improvement for Lexus. Really, there's only a couple of areas of improvement, which I'm sure they'll do in the next generation. I would say, you know, the interior a little bit, as we talked about. I would just try to save a little weight off the front and maybe, you know, get it a little more balanced, because it does feel a little front heavy, which tends to make it, you know, not inspire a whole lot of confidence. But I'm comparing it to real, genuine sports cars like Porsche. The Audi S4 is close, but it doesn't have that. S5 and S4 are close, but they don't have that V8. So really, the only car, like I said, that this can compare to is that C63, which I've reviewed and will link to at the end. So would I buy this car with my own money? It definitely would be on my short list. If I wanted a naturally aspirated V8, I kind of feel like it might be kind of the only car I could buy with my own money that, you know, would offer me that. Love the torque vectoring diff. I would love all-wheel drive. I talked in circles. Would I buy this car with my own money or no? The answer is probably, if I was in the market for something that sounded great and I wanted naturally aspirated, this would win out over the C63. I can say this, as a grand touring car that you can also bring to the track, this is such a great grand tourer. If I was driving across the country and was offered, I would possibly take this car. It kind of fills that gap between the true track cars that are just kind of meant for the track, and they're also okay on the road. And then like the Continental, which is like, I would say, the ultimate grand tourer. Let me know in the comments if you think there's a better grand touring like coupe out there. Right in the middle of there, the one elephant in the room is this car stickered out for $80,000 with all the toys they put on there. You don't need a lot of those toys. Let me go through which ones I would personally skip. Here it is. I hope we can get that. So it starts at $64. That's not incredibly bad, and that's competitive with everything in this class. Yeah, would I get this at 64 grand lightly optioned, or especially if I could pick one up used or a good lease or anything like that? Yeah. Until next time, my speedy racers, drive on.